Okay, hello. So someone was curious as to what I was focusing on all day, so I had to show him what I was looking at. So where were we? Let's see. Let's see. So we had combined some different herbs here. We had combined. Let's get back and share. Share that screen. There we go. Okay, right. So we're focusing on Jingjia here. And we are focusing on the pericardium, just because we want to get proficient in being able to work with the pericardium in this way, because there aren't that many pericardium herbs, so we have to learn how to be flexible. Okay, so we did find a pericardium herb to join with Jingjia, which is Chuanxiong, which threw the whole idea into this direction of stimulating and moving the blood in a particular way, okay, around the pericardium channel. Okay, so what are we doing? We're filling that hole that we found in the whole acrid warm category. So that's kind of why I headed in this direction. Okay, we'll just think, well, what if? Okay, well, it is conceivable. Sometimes we want to do things like this. Okay, maybe there's something in the blood that we need to disperse out of the blood. And we need to activate that pericardium in that way. Or what if someone has a super cold stagnation right down their carpal tunnel? It'd be perfect. Jingjia Chuanxiang would really work very, very well for that. Okay. So then most recently, we added a few different things to our Jingjia Chuanxiang combination. We added the Banzhi Lian. Okay. And so we're clearing heat and cleaning toxin, maybe from the whole Jue Yin. Maybe we need to clear heat and clean toxin out of the whole Jue Yin system. So we'd add something like the Banzhi Lian, okay? And that's going to take us in that direction. Maybe there's some kind of deficient heat going on, or like we said, a malarial syndrome. So we added the Qinghao. So that would be the episodic fevers and things. A lot of times in the post-COVID, people get this very malarial syndrome-like stuff going on. So we really want to remember Qinghao in this situation. And it looks like things are stuck in the blood. We can use this kind of a formula, right? The Jingjia, the Chuanxiong. Maybe if there's a lot of toxin that is stuck in there also, add the Banzhi Lian, will be very, very strong to clear the toxin, And maybe with that episodic nature, things are getting a deficient heatish, right? We want to add the Qinghao as well. Or maybe if things aren't quite as toxic, we just add the Qinghao and not worry so much about the Banzhi Lian. We don't have to like defeat the toxin so strongly in that way. So again, we're just learning how to be flexible. Okay. So let's add something else. Just in the spirit of being flexible with this, but this is what we do. This is how we learn about the herbs. We try combining different ones, and then we can say, oh, that's going to be a formula that looks like this. That's going to be a formula that creates such and such. So when we start generating formulas in this way and saying, this is what that formula is going to treat, it'll be easier for us clinically when we get to that place to say, oh, I know what we're going to use. We use this and this and this. Okay. Okay. So again, we're optimizing for the pericardium. Okay. So I'm seeing stomach. I'm seeing liver. Well, here, we'll keep those for stacks. Let's make these italic. Stomach, liver, kidney, right? That's looking pretty good. Okay. And what else do we have here? The lung is kind of so-so, and the ren and the chong. Well, the chong could conceivably be connected with the pericardium via that yin way, and also just where it goes, right? The chong is very much related with the blood and in the chest and the heart and all of that, right? So again, we can be maybe a little bit flexible with that, but we know stomach, liver, and kidney are definitely slam dunks for us on the pericardium scale. So let's add some by way. That'll cool things down a lot. Okay, it's bitter, it's salty, so it's also going to be dissolving any accumulations that might be going on in this area or down here, right? All the time people get these adhesions through this area, huh? So even that saltiness of the byway could really help there. So what else would we have stacked up here if we put all these together? Let's see, we'd have lung there. So we have a double stack with the lung. Liver's got to be a triple stack there. Let's see, just one kidney. What about the stomach? Just one stomach, huh? Like that, but it's rounding things out for the pericardium, okay? So that is the way that we do it. Okay, so this would be for somebody that has blood stagnation in the chest, probably, plus a strong deficient heat, kind of cooking the hormones, or vice versa. It could work the other way around too. So, and again, we can vary the proportions of the herbs in these different combinations to make the formula do what we want. If there's more of that deficient heat, then maybe we add more of the bywith. If there's more of the blood stagnation, then maybe we would add more of the chuanxiong. If the stagnant quality is such that it's really keeping things bound up, we'd maybe add more jingjia to help to liberate it, right? To do like that. So what else could we use this for? We could use this for maybe granular lungs or nodes in the lung. We could use it like that. We could use it for chronic liver blood stagnation that's collapsing the hormones, for sure. Okay, that patient's far enough along in the pathology, and they're probably calling on all the resources for help, and eventually you as a practitioner. Okay, so that's what that scenario would look like. That combination would look like that. How about let's switch gears. Let's do something totally different here, and we'll get out of chuanxiong and all that. Going back, remember, we're optimizing jingjia for pericardium. Let's get away from now. Okay, let's combine jingjia with EE-REN. That's an interesting combination, isn't it? So what would that look like? What would that bring our territories? Let's include the chuanxiong also. Just because we were doing that before, we'll have more consistency. We'll go back up here and grab the chuanxiong. Again. Oh. Here we go. All right, back up to speed. Plus the chuanxiong. Okay, and plus the EE-REN. Okay, so we're still moving the blood, we're still activating things, but now we've got this regulating damp and dissolving brain dampness. We got sweet, the bland. Okay, remember we're looking for stomach, and kidney, so we can definitely use this herb. Why not? Why not? Okay, keep it simple there. Okay, so that's going to give us something that looks like this. Okay, so we have the jingjia chuanxiong from before, and we add the EE-REN. So we have that stomach kidney that we were looking for, but then also we've got another lung, so that's going to bring that lung dimension in, which is also going to be further strengthened a little bit by the spleen. Okay, so now both the lung and the stomach are supported by the spleen. Okay. So this is somebody whose blood stagnation is acting out against the stomach. Okay. That's what that would look like. Okay. This is somebody that has blood stagnation that's acting out against the stomach or acting against the stomach in that Kuh cycle. Like that. Or maybe against the kidney also, or either or both. In either way, the fluid metabolism is going to be getting affected, right? Either through the kidney or through the stomach. So fluid metabolism is getting affected, and the ability to produce the fluids, the ability to reduce the fluids also, the ability to transport the fluids, the ability to mist the fluids, okay, with the lung, transport the fluids with the spleen, reduce the fluids with the kidney, produce the fluids with the stomach and the lung, right? So I'm giving you a lot of hints. This patient is going to be swollen, right? Okay. Could have recurrent problems with fluid in the ears, maybe temporal brain swelling even, okay? That's what that picture could look like. Huh? So again, we can spin these combinations in all sorts of different directions depending on what we want to do and how we want to stack things. Okay. All right. Let's switch gears again and we'll go for a couple of really cold pictures. What if cold is very prominent part of this picture? Let's really heat it up. We'll use something like Wuju. Okay. Very hot earth. Okay, so we went from something that was already warm, so we're flipping it the other way now. We're making it really hot. Why would we want to do that? This would be somebody who's really suffering from strong cold. Okay, so we're supporting that pericardium a lot here. We got that liver, the stomach, and the kidneys. This is a lot of pericardium support. Some of it stuck blood and coldness in the pericardium channel, right? So that addition is going to flip the formula to go to very warm and activating and very dispersing. Okay, so that blood stagnation reduce the patient's ability probably to digest. Digestive fire is probably at a minimum. Okay, this is why we got that spleen stomach in here with the Wuju Yu, right? This could also be somebody with serious cold headaches on the top side or even the front of the head, right? This could be somebody with cold polyps in the frontal sinuses. Again, Wuju Yu is an herb that I wouldn't use too often. Remember, Sifu Lai said, only use Wuju Yu if the patient has been a vegetarian for 100 years. So it's very hot and it will heat things up very rapidly. But if you have a truly cold situation like this, then this is when you want to use something like Wuju Yu, okay? But combining it with the Chuanxiong and the Jingjie, wow, that's going to make it really strong and super, super activating. So everything's going to be spinning around and moving, and the digestion, even there's real cold accumulations and even cold blood accumulations in the stomach or in that upper digestion at all, even in the liver, gallbladder, we're treating that whole Jueyin system by adding Wuju Yu would be very powerful, okay? So that form would be very warm, activating, and dispersing. All right. Maybe that patient has really serious cold headaches on the top, the side of the front of the head. Then cold polyps in the frontals or in the frontal sinuses there, right? Because we've got gallbladder coming in right there. Maybe the patient isn't quite that cold and compromised, but it's heading toward that direction. In the slash formula. Maybe we see them a little bit earlier on in the game because we don't need to be so extreme. So we could add something not so extreme as the Wuju. Instead, we could do something like add this herb, which is Hua Jia. Okay, so it's acrid, and so again we're making this formula very warm. Again, okay, we got our kidney and our stomach that we're looking for to optimize for the pericardium. We've got some extra spleen support going on there. Well, so we get all that activation, but there's no need for that end stage liver rescue, really, that we might have with the Wuju. This is still a patient that has chronic liver and or pericardium blood stagnation. Okay. Jueyin disease with cold digestive symptoms. That's what that is about, adding that Hua Jiao to the Jingjie and the Chunxiong. Okay. We could also do it like this. We could add something else that's quite similar. We also have the same. We have the kidney, the spleen, and the stomach. So there's our kidney and stomach again. Right? So we could diversify our current formula that we have along with the Hua Jiao, or we could use the Dingxiang instead. Dingxiang is going to go a little bit more to the head. Why? Because it's a flower. Technically, the Hua Jiao might go a little bit more, maybe a little bit more to the skin because it's that pericardium, right? Maybe a little bit more to the skin, like that. So we're flexible with how that we can use these herbs, even though they go through the same territory we want to look, right? Hua Jiao, let's see here. They're both acrid. Looks like Hua Jiao is a little bit warmer, right? They both go to kidney, spleen, and stomach, like that. Okay, so you're getting an idea. This is how we stack herbs in the formula or switch out different ones depending on subtleties. Sometimes we just want to make it stronger. Okay, so we add more of the same kind of qualities together. All right. So if we added the Dingxiang instead, that patient would probably be experiencing more pain, more cold pain, especially in the upper teeth or the sinuses. We could have actually been including the genitals in a big way with any of these formulas. Let's see. So we might as well go a little bit more genital, and we can add this herb. Another very common food herb. Xiaohuixiang, right? Okay, so again, we've got our kidney. Well, here we've got kidney, liver, stomach, all looking good for the pericardium, right? But this would take it more into a genital focus, especially with the addition of the liver. And then also you can see with the Xiaohuixiang, what do we have? We have all 3 foot yin channels. We're warming all 3 of those foot yin channels. So that would be for cold genital stagnation, right? Maybe a little bit more to the qi side than the blood, or really qi and blood stagnation with cold would be a good way to look at that. Okay. What about if there's liver blood congestion causing chest pain? What would we add there? Switch things up. Let's take some of these out. There we go. Houbuziye. Some people are familiar with this herb and some people aren't. Well, this is one of Jim Chang's herbs that he gave to the people in California, and It's good for a number of things. He says it's good for bone spurs. I know John Chen uses it for bone spurs also. But look, it's got all of these great pericardium synergies, huh? And it's bitter and a little bit astringent, and it's cool. So a lot of times it's very convenient to have a cool herb tagging along with our pericardium formulas if we don't want it to be too warm. Okay, so I would use this for liver blood congestion causing chest pain. Why? Because all these channels go up, or the liver and the kidney go up into the chest, and the stomach goes down through the chest, right? Like that. We could do that, huh? Maybe there's more cold and a little more congestion. Maybe there's more digestive issues and less going on with the liver. If that were the case, we might do this instead. Let's add Chenxiang. And this is a very aromatic herb. Chenxiang, aloes whip. All right. So again, like before, we've got kidney, spleen, and stomach. I'm sorry. This is kidney, spleen, and stomach rather than stomach, kidney, and liver. Okay. Okay. So it's slightly different. This is more to the spleen, stomach side. But it still has some of that kidney. And it has what we want in terms of the kidney and the stomach, both for the pericardium. Okay. So, stomach. So this is going to be aromatic, and it will. This would be more aromatic, and it's a little bit on the warm side. Okay. Probably there's some more congestion. This isn't just about chi regulation, because the aromatic quality is very, very good. So this would be, there's a little bit more congestion on a chi level, maybe more digestive issues, less going on with the liver per se. To use this, because we have that more of that spleen, stomach tropism with the Chenxiang. It's a very good combination to use. And here's another one that we could use. We could stack this in, or we could decide to bring the whole thing over to the liver side more instead of going over the spleen side more. This is the way that we stack things up. Okay. Okay, so here we've got our stomach and kidney that we're looking for to optimize the pericardium. Okay, this is more to the liver side. This is basil. Basil. So you want to think basil. When you eat your pesto, you're doing a little Jueyin treatment there, like that. Okay. And here's another angle, even with a very different flavor that we could add instead. Let's add, this is another unusual herb, the Dao Do, right? Sword bean. Literally, that's what it means in Chinese, like the sword bean. So, what is that going to do? It's going to make it very strong digestive focus. But this would be more like chronic Jueyin stagnation affecting the digestion, probably the throat and the sinuses and the intestinal functions for sure, right? With all this business going on with the large intestine here. Okay, we got Yang Min going on. We've got that stomach, spleen, Biao Li. We've got some kidney supports. This is more chronic stuff that's going on here. Right? Chronic Jueyin stagnation affecting the digestion, the throat, sinuses, and the intestinal functions. Okay, and the sweetness of the Dao Do is going to help to consolidate those areas that have been taking the hit from that Jueyin acting out. Okay, and so maybe we treat the patient with all of this stuff, and it seems like everything's going smoothly. And then we can start to work on the but all of a sudden the patient is bleeding spontaneously, no known cause, okay? Maybe they start bleeding in the stomach, or the vessels alongside the channels go awry and they start bursting or bleeding out. Um, uh, this could happen for like a cold blood stagnation that affects the eyes, right? Um, if that happened, you would want to play the Chuanxiong down a lot because that Chuanxiong has such a warm and rising nature. You want to play that Chuanxiong down a lot. So we could tone down the Chuanxiong and add this herb instead. Add the Shui Yutan, which is the charred pear. Now I gotta admit, I don't use this one too often because I love my hair. But maybe use the patient's own hair, but people mess with their hair so much, you don't want to do that either. And I don't know if it's so like savory to use other people's charred hair either. So this is like an interesting look around. Like, what do you do with Shui Yutan, and how do you avoid the intense nausea that frequently happens when people take it? This is a problematic herb. Maybe you want to use it more externally than internally. But some people can handle it. Okay. Maybe, okay, let's go to something that's not quite as extreme. All right. More like a chronic thyroid condition. You probably see a lot of people that have a situation that's similar to this. So get out of that Shui Yutan. Into the chronic thyroid, we use the Haizao. There's the Haizao. Maybe there's phlegm stagnation, getting nodular in there, in the thyroid or in the throat area. Doesn't take too much Haizao. You don't want to use too much because too much seaweed at that time could actually harm the thyroid as well. But just a little tiny bit goes a long way. The bitterness and the saltiness help to clear that heat out. Like that, okay? So that bitterness and the saltiness, it's going to clear the heat. It's going to clear heat and any nodules, okay? And a lot of times people ask me, well, what's the difference between the Haizao and the Kunbu? Let's put Kunbu there side by side. There we go. All right. So what's the difference? We can tell right away. The difference is in the bitterness. Okay. So Haizao is going to be more activating than Kunbu. Again, because the real difference in terms of the tastes is with that bitterness. It's not just salty like the Kunbu. Also, you've got a liver-lung connection, which is going to make it more thyroidish, for sure, with the Haizao than it is with Kunbu. But it doesn't mean that you couldn't stack that Kunbu alongside with the Haizao if you want it to be a little bit stronger, if you want to push things in that direction a little bit, make it a little bit more salty, right? Of course you can add it, but you could not add it also, or you could just use the Kunbu and say, no, actually we don't want to emphasize that lung-liver relationship. We've got enough herbs in the formula doing that. You could do something like that, okay? Also, there's no lung tropism there with the Kunbu, okay? So you might decide to stack them up together, okay? That's what everybody else does, right? Everybody uses the Kunbu and the Haizao together. Okay? So that gives you a certain combination. Let's see, liver, stomach, kidney, lung, okay? maybe it's kidney lung. So lungs are the differentiator there. Okay. But it's still very pericardium. So even though it doesn't look like you're doing too much when you're doing this, in fact, like with this, you made a quad stack with the liver, okay? And double stacks with everything else but the pericardium, but you're invoking pericardium with this whole thing. So of course it's going to influence and affect the pericardium very strongly, okay? So we're starting to get into the arena of very strong Mingjie formulas when we do these, because we're stacking up so many different herbs, okay? Why? We're creating multiple synergies by making small additions here and there, okay? So when we add something, we're not just adding them symptomatically, like so many people who are practicing herbology, they approach it in terms of the symptoms, or in terms of like specific things that they think the herbs are going to do. But we're stacking them up, and we're creating an entire field that's going to have a lot of different downstream effects. So that's what we're looking for. Okay. Okay. So we have the pericardium, and we're just tuning this for pericardium right now. That's what we're doing, is we're trying to get proficient at doing that, in invoking the pericardium in as many ways as we can. Okay. That's how we make the strong Mingjie formulas. And again, for me, I would much rather create a formula that's a little bit more complex and use a number of herbs rather than using almost 100% of the time, rather than using very large doses of a particular herb. I would much rather maximize the synergies between herbs to create the power that way. It's a little bit more diversified, and the body seems to handle it better, in my experience. Okay. What if all that Jueyin stagnation, because we're talking about the pericardium affecting the chest, what if all that Jueyin stagnation causes some asthma? So we could emphasize the lung a little bit more. We could use another mineral. These guys away. Just so we can see that. Zhongru Shi, stalactite tips. This is a mineral cure. So again, it's got the kidney stomach we're looking for, but we're emphasizing the lung again, which is going to synergize with our Jingjie and the liver, even the gallbladder, if we include that yin tiger relationship, which happens with surprising frequency. So we're stacking lung here, and along with those other pericardium synergists. So it also has some sweetness as well as the acridity. That sweetness will help to consolidate this formula, and that downward impulse of the stalactite also helps that lung qi go down. So that's what they see it as this force that's going down. Whatever those stalactites are, it's very interesting. So that would be something like that combination with the Jingjie Chuanxiang and the Zhongru Shi. That would be something like a Jueyin blood stagnation causing lung dryness and maybe a general compromise in thin fluid production. Again, because we have that lung and stomach involved to generate the thin fluids. That's what we want to do. Okay. If we wanted to emphasize that process even more, what would we add? This could be really interesting. We could also add something like tiandong. Tiandong, tiandong. So again, we have more sweet to add with the sweetness. We got some bitter that's dispersing in a little bit different way than the acridity of the Zhongru Shi. It's cold to very cold, so we're getting it cold again. But again, we have the lung, the kidney, and the stomach. So this is supporting the generation of fluids and probably helping it to assimilate into the body through the kidney as well. So don't forget about tiandong for that kind of thing. Okay. Maybe the same thing is going on, but there's no lung involvement. But what if there's a strong stomach involvement that's drying out the stomach, but the lung is fine? We could add another one of my favorite herbs. That is quite difficult to get at this point. Is Sherhu. Okay. Sherhu. Great tonified yang herb. And it's pretty light. It's not too heavy on the stomach. Gets us right into pericardium category with that kidney stomach. Also has some good blandness. So a lot of these have a bland. So again, we want to be thinking nodules and that kind of thing with the salty. And the bland is going to be helping to get rid of the old fluids and help to support bringing the new fluids in with the sweetness. Okay. Like that. Maybe chronic Julian stagnation is creating a chronic loss of Jing. Okay. Especially if there's some kind of acid indigestion going. This is something that happens pretty frequently with frustrated old men. Let's see if I can get this to increase. We could have the Hai Tiao Xiao, the cuttlefish bone. I like this. I like this herb. That saltiness and the astringent is kind of an interesting combination of qualities where you're astringent but salty and dissolving at the same time. So it almost squeezes things out. I laugh when I think about this herb with the cuttlefish. I don't know if you've ever seen the cuttlefish, right? But one time I was at the aquarium with my daughter, and there's some cuttlefish in a tank. And I said, "Oh, look, there's a cuttlefish." And she looked at them and she started frowning like this. And she said, "They're not cuddling." So I always laugh when I think of the cuttlefish bone, that they're not cuddling. Okay. Let's forget all of those combinations that we've made. Just go back to Jinjie. Let's forget about all that. We'll just go back to Jinjie, okay? What's a totally different way that we could make combinations? Totally different than what we just did. We could make combinations just by focusing on relationships. Let's just focus on relationship for a while. We can do some relationship stacks. So what if for some reason we just want to emphasize the Xiaoyang dimension of Jingjie, okay? That would be a double name and clock neighbor relationship. So that's powerful. So let's start stacking the relationships, okay? So we already invested Chuanxiang a lot with this process, but we could try something else. We just wanted to focus on this Xiaoyang dimension. So let's add this, which is another one of my favorite herbs, again, Manjingzi. Like that, okay? And so we'd be stacking up gallbladder and gallbladder, Sanjiao and Sanjiao, lung and lung, liver and liver. So all those Jingjie things we would be stacking up, plus the gallbladder and the stomach. I mean, the urinary bladder and the stomach, right? Like that, okay? So that's we would call that a double relationship stack, right? And even we get we add all those, we get a lot of different relationship stacks with that, with the Manjingzi. Look at all these relationships we get stacked up here. We've got name relationship, which is the Xiaoyang gallbladder, and Sanjiao, right? We got a Biaoli, gallbladder in the liver. We got we got two clock neighbors, right? Sanjiao in the gallbladder and the liver and the lung. And also that yin tiger branch relationship that I like invoking so much. Whenever the sides of the lungs are involved, that yin tiger is really strong. Okay. So you think there might be some powerful synergies going on with that? Definitely. It's an incredibly powerful combination. The manjingzi and the jingjia, two very, very common herbs, but so powerful. All those synergies going on. So don't ignore it. Okay, so manjingzi kind of hit the jackpot instantly and gave us a very balanced formula plus a ton of synergies. Okay. So that's how we create a kind of a guiding principle without needing to use single guiding herbs. Okay, so our Sherma at the beginning of the day was talking about how she's starting to understand, wow, how do we use like the different king, queen, villain, hierarchies in the formulas, right? This is how we do it. Although we don't do it rigidly the way a lot of the classical formulas do it, we do it by stacking different kinds of herbs with similar qualities, and that's how we create what is the guiding principle behind each of our formulas. Okay, so that's our emperor, the ministers, and like that with each of these formulas. Okay, so we can switch up with that, with the emperor, with the ministers, with the guides, and like that, and the subsidiary herbs. We can switch all that stuff up very simply and very, very, very efficiently with working at this way. Okay. So in general, when we do this, we want to add some other herbs into the mix to get at least a bit of balance, other kinds of balance in the formula. You just use it for a very short time if you're wanting to just do it by relationship only, right? Because it just doesn't take very much to rectify a relationship. Usually, we use the herbs in this way, it can be very powerful. Okay. So we can do that. We can use these for a short time, just like sometimes we don't need to create a global balance in an acupuncture session. But I always try to, because I've found that if we get a total global balance picture going, it helps the patient to integrate the healing much better. Anyway, there's a lot of activation and dispersal in this really small formula between the Jingjia and the Manjingzi. I call it a formula. Remember, I call it a formula for all the elements, no matter how small they are, create some level of global balance, okay? So this formula, this combination, it hit everything for the pericardium, okay? Everything we want, okay, it's missing the kidney, all right? But we don't always want or need to include the kidney. But slightly to the warm side. It's got a little bit more superficial layers. It's activating, it's dispersing and cleaning, right? Plus we have the entire path of qi covered as well, don't we? Mostly because of the manjingzi, right? Because we got the whole path of qi, right? Stomach, gallbladder, and the yubi, right? So we don't, or we should say yubi, gallbladder, stomach, because we're going from the back to the front of the path of qi there, right? But the gallbladder is definitely emphasized a lot, especially emphasized because we got that lung, the liver, the sanjiao, all of these things emphasizing that gallbladder aspect. Okay, right? So we have that entire path of qi covered with that simple combination. So we can blow things through the whole path of qi with that combination. We can be doing something completely different. But if we want to open that up, we use those two herbs together. Very, very powerful. Okay. Could we use that combination for itching in the pubic region? Sure, we could, right? Because that's an indication for the liver low, isn't it? Huh? So we have the liver and the gallbladder, so we look at the liver low. What are the indications for it? Okay, we could use it for that. Why not? Okay. I would definitely add some blood support if that was going on, if that's what you're going to do. We could use it for skin problems in the lower legs and the feet, right? Because that's also where those low go for the liver and the gallbladder. Any wind that's affecting the Jue Yin or the Xiaoyang, basically. Inside, outside, doesn't matter at all. We can do like that. We'll do. Let's stop here for today. So stop here. We're going to kind of resurrect this in the morning, tomorrow morning. Are there any, I'm going to stop with sharing. Does anybody have any questions at this point? I want to answer them. Okay, if there are no questions, I just want to leave you with sort of this contemplation that we're doing, this very deep work with understanding all these different dimensions of our acrid warm exterior releasing category. And we're going very deep with Jingjie here, just as one example. We could do this with any of the herbs, right? I'm just using Jingjie as one example of how to be super flexible and be able to rotate and do tons of different things with the Jingjie, with these qualities of dispersion and Shaoyang and that warmth and all, okay? This idea of activating, warming, activating, and dispersing at the same time, okay? So let's wrap it up for today. If there are no other questions, I want you guys to sleep with all of this. And I want you to take a look at the drawing that you made and sort of contemplate that before you go to sleep, with all those channels and that hole in the pericardium, okay? Because that's what we're focusing on, filling the hole in the pericardium. Okay, any other questions? If not, I will give it back to Shermu and we will see you in the morning. All right, thanks. Have a good night.晚安.
Thank you, 老师. Bye bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.